In today's episode, we talk about the key traits that help people recover and the key traits that stop people from recovering. This is a fascinating conversation with myself and CFS Health General Manager Ash Ward.
Hi.
Hey. So the question that I want to ask you and I want to talk about today is why do some people get better relatively faster? When I mean faster, I mean 6, 12, 15 months. Versus why do you think some people are stuck in their recovery? And it's easy to talk about all the mistakes people make. I don't think that's going to be that useful. I think it'd be more useful to talk about like who are the people that are getting better and why are they getting better? Because we're witnessing people who are 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and even teenagers and kids, like of all ages and severities, we're witnessing people get better. It's like, why is that? What comes to mind when you think about that question?
So much comes to my mind. One side piece, I think, is there's never going to be a one-size-fits-all time frame.
Yes.
Ever.
Yeah.
So it's never about, there's like two sides to this. There's never going to be, okay, recovery is now 6 months, 6 months for everyone, or 30 days for everyone. Like that's never going to exist. So knowing that, one thing that's really important, but also that we see those who are recovering and not doing is comparison.
Yes.
Because one thing that trips up is, well, that person recovered in 2 months' time, and that person is recovering and making massive progress in 6 months' time, or that person's done it in 9 months' time, and I've been working on it for 10 months, or whatever it is. So I think we'll talk about what's helping people progress quickly, but also there can't be any comparison because there's never going to be this 6 months is the goal or 2 months is the goal, and that's going to be the same for everyone.
Well, maybe that is point number one, that they're not comparing.
Yeah.
That's why they're getting better, because they're not focusing on anyone else but themselves.
Because that fast tracks it in itself. Because as soon as you're comparing to other people's recoveries, having no idea of like what's going on in that person's life, what they're doing, their bodies are completely different anyway. Like you're comparing apples and oranges. Like no one can compare their recovery to anybody else's. So the first thing is not comparing is one of the quickest way to make your own recovery progress faster.
Yeah, it's like shooting yourself in the foot. If you just constantly compare, it's easy to do.
So easy to do.
And I think Mel Robbins said, jealousy is just wanting what someone else has.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be that too, of like comparison of like, I just want to be where they're at.
Of course, human nature, like naturally. But it's like that outward focus of, I want that, or why is that person getting faster results, or like, why is it not happening to me, takes energy to be thinking that way.
Yep. But
B, takes that energy away from focusing on the things that are actually going to help the recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one big thing that it's very natural to do. Of course, like you're human, but those that are focusing entirely on their recovery really make sure to keep themselves in check, that they're not comparing and sort of holding their recovery to a timeline of expectation.
Yeah. And so number 2 would be drop the clock.
Mm-hmm.
One of our members, Andrew Alsop, said that in an interview. Andrew Alsop on YouTube, if anyone can find it. And in his success story, I said, what was one of the key components of recovery for you? And he said, stop measuring recovery against time.
Yeah.
And again, it's comparison in a way too. It's just comparing against a clock versus a person. So I think that falls under the same umbrella. One of the things that I think people getting better or progressing in a relatively quick way, which is what obviously everyone wants, is like a recovery readiness. So it's like this, it's not like hoping and holding on that this is the next answer and that this program is going to cure all. It's not focusing on, what can this person or this thing do for me? it's like this readiness of like the whole person comes in and goes, right, this is my situation. This kind of sucks.
This really sucks.
This really sucks. Yep. And they've probably cried and let out a lot of grieving and
Grieving still.
and there's probably just a point where they're just like, all right, enough's enough.
Mm.
Like I've done all of that and I don't need to feel sorry for myself anymore. And I'm 100% dedicated to my recovery. And there's this energy behind it. And there's a relaxed energy. Despite it being 100% committed, there's a relaxed energy about it. And so I think that's interesting because like we often say, like how committed are you to your recovery? But that can feel like a heavy weight of like, oh, I need to be guns blazing and like just fully immersed in everything recovery. But the ones who are fully committed in their recovery, they're actually relaxed about their recovery. Like their approach.
Well, they have an approach of like, I'm 100% committed, doing what it takes, but doing what my body requires at the time.
Yes.
As well. And so I think it's that we say, are you committed to your recovery? And I have no doubt that everyone is doing the best they can and would say, yes, of course I'm I wouldn't be here trying to work on it if I wasn't. But I think it's that being committed to your recovery doesn't mean that you're getting up every day and you're doing, and like watching everything or implementing everything. Sometimes it can be like, what does the body need right now? Is it slowness? Like, what's the best approach?
You said before off camera, we were talking about like a lot of people who are stuck in their recovery are coming from a place of desperation, right? Just wanting to get their life back as fast as possible.
Of course.
Which just like, it just makes things 10 times heavier and harder and it's not fun. And then, so I asked you the question, well, what's the opposite of desperation? And what was your answer?
I said trust.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, that's an interesting answer. Like I didn't come up with that straight away in my head. And it's like, what does trust look like? Like, could you obviously watch members get better over time and you see them trust themselves and recovery. Like, to paint a picture for someone who doesn't know what that feels like yet, like what does it look like? What's the opposite of desperation? What does it look like?
To me, desperation is a seeking. Like I desperately need answers. I need quick fixes or I need fixes. I need things to fix me.
Give me everything.
The bill says. People give me the information, give.
Tell me.
Yeah, because I'm scared.
Yeah.
And it's completely understandable. Very valid.
In fact, not their fault.
No.
We often say that, like, there have been a lot of people being let down by the medical system where, they say, oh, there's, take these pills, try this medication, good luck, au revoir.
Just learn how to manage.
Yeah, that's that's not fun.
So coming from that place of seeking, needing to you're feeling desperate and just trying to get answers. But when that can be released and a trust can be there, that is developed. This is not a light switch that you just hear this and go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just trust now. Like, wouldn't that be great if we could do that?
Yeah.
This is a learning. But it's coming from a place of, can I trust my body? I'm starting to trust what my body's saying to me, what my body's telling me. I trust that I see evidence of other people in front of me who've recovered. I trust that there are approaches that work. I trust my own timeline. I trust my own path. I trust my own journey, however it looks like. I trust that my recovery path is going to be different to everybody else around me. But I trust that there's hope. I trust that this can work. I trust that me and my body are on the same team.
I was going to say, like, it's like I'm building trust with my body, and we call it body wisdom at CFS Health. Like, ultimately, what we teach is body wisdom. It's such a simple word. but it's hard. It's hard to tangibly feel it if you're just logically trying
Of
to
course.
seek the answers.
Yeah.
But once you finally get it and you go, I feel what's appropriate in my body,
Yeah.
then you can start to respond to stimulus or to life in a different way, in a different approach, which ultimately builds more trust.
Yeah.
So it's like it's work, then that's what happens, but people don't realize it, but they're still seeking those scientific answers, and they want to know everything. It's like that's actually the thing that's getting in the way of you moving forwards with your recovery to a degree, when you're cognitively overloading yourself with just more information and coming from a place of desperation.
Getting on the same team as your body is something that many of those who've recovered did. They were in a place of fighting their body. Like, is my body doing this? Why is my body responding to this? Why do I feel this way? Feeling like the body is separate.
Yeah.
But getting on the same team as the body, like you're on the same team. Your body's, doing its thing, and those people, once they sort of see their body as on their same team, they can then work together to get the results, rather than feeling like they're fighting against it all the time.
It's almost like, we say you have to, you can't expect recovery to happen if you don't participate in it. And you spoke about reframing a lot. Like you see the people who get better and you're watching them, and you said something about like they're constantly reframing hard times, bad days. Like they're not making a big deal of it. Like, what are you noticing with those people?
I see the hard days and the challenging times and the dips, crashes, sometimes setbacks, as great opportunities for data collection and learnings and insights. And I think sometimes, or for many of those recovered members, came from that approach as well, of like, okay, I've had a dip, or I've had a setback, or I've had a crash. I'm collecting data. What's happened? What do I need to adjust? What did I push too much? What happened in my life that could have created something different? And it's not about micromanaging at all. Like, it's not about micromanaging the situation, but it's an awareness and a curiosity of, okay, what happened here? What do I learn? What's my body talking to me here? Where did I go outside of my boundaries? Where did I, go off, away from my baseline, perhaps? Like, it's a coming from a place of curiosity
And
to learn, to then do something different and move forward, rather than fear and desperation. My life's over. I've gone backwards. I don't think there's a going backwards. I just don't think that exists, because you can turn up to it from a place of, what can I learn in this situation that I didn't know yesterday, that I didn't know from the last
calling for my attention.
That's calling for my attention, that can help be another little tiny piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, that's right.
Always.
Yeah.
So I think they turn up in that sort of frame of mind, and they're not sitting there throwing a celebration and enjoying of like, yay, a little setback. I've got something to learn from this. They don't enjoy it either. But it's kind of a level of acceptance of like, okay, little setback. I can get through it.
What can I do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
I've got tools. I'm here.
So it's more of a nature and a trait than a personality problem. Like everyone can take this trait.
Adopt it.
Yeah, everyone's proactive. One of the things that I notice with people who get better is there's a certain middle point. And the middle point is where you reach a certain level of progress, but you don't go all the way. And this is a really defining moment for people, because they can get to this middle point of like medium progress, and they're like pretty happy, and they're like, oh, like I've made progress, but I'm not completely where I want to be. Two things can happen. One, they stop and they stay stagnant or go backwards because they stop doing the work. And then there's the other people who get on the other end of recovery and start to live life again, where they actually continue doing that extra process and progress for another 6 to 12 months. And those people's lives are exponentially different and bigger. like Anina, one of our amazing mentors now, shout out to Anina if you listen to this. She went through that period, probably the first 9 months she didn't make. It wasn't like she was surfing in Portugal and doing family dinners and studying and working and being a mentor and all that stuff in the first 9 months. But once she got to the 9th month mark roughly, and she stayed at it 12 month, 15, 24 months, her life starts to open up like dramatically. Holy shit, I'm going overseas. Oh my God, I'm doing my PhD science degree. Like all of these things happened over time. And it was the repetition from month 9 onwards that actually expanded her capacity the most. Now, she didn't do anything crazy or rocket sciencey. It was literally just like she continued on doing that progress, but really staying accountable to it. And I think that's also it comes into huge play of building that consistency and resilience in the body to continue to progress and expand capacity. Now she's able to go surfing and do trips to Portugal and do all sorts of things, and feel good. So, but there's no way she could have done that in the first 9 months.
No.
So it was like,
and it's not even something that she saw possible in the first 9 months.
Exactly right.
Like a lot of these things that lots of the recovered members are experiencing are things that they weren't even on their radar.
No, that's exactly right too. Because as their life opens up, as their recovery starts to get better, their life opens up. And so it's just like, there's these new mountains.
Yeah.
That's all. It's like you climb this mountain, awesome. What other mountains are there around here that are funner, bigger, better, sexier? And then, which is what we're talking about, goals really. Which I think the final piece is like, I think it's just so vital and important to have a bigger why than your current circumstances. And what I mean by why is like a bigger goal, clear aspirations that you're doing this work for to move you towards where you want to go, versus just wishing that you just got your old life back. Because wishing is like involuntary, like you're just like, well, I just wish it happened, right? And so there's no real participation in recovery. But true goals and vision for a future that you want, you're just going to show up every day with a little bit more intention. And with better intention comes better activities and behaviors, which then create better results. So I think that's so underrated.
Yeah.
Like that's why we do a vision workshop every year for all of our members, because it's just such an underrated thing. Like, and I worry that a lot of people, they're so stuck in the day-to-day suffering that they're not acting and behaving from a place of where they want to be. They're just acting and behaving from the place that they're currently at, which is their current reality, which they hate. And there's this self-loathing and lack of self-compassion that's happening in the day that's draining a shitload of energy.
Which is all understandable.
Yeah. That's
when
right.
you're given something like chronic fatigue syndrome, it's not a choice.
Has a diagnosis as well.
It's not something that anyone has chosen to experience. And so it would be very, I'm sure no one has been given the diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome and said, oh, goody, yay, a challenge.
No, well, it's really disheartening because most people who are diagnosed are told that there's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Which screws their recovery up even more, because then they're dealing with this belief, which is just a thought to be known as true, that they can't do anything to get better, which then makes them stay sick.
Yeah.
And then that's a whole nother conversation and breakthrough around, unlimited potential and beliefs that are either useful or not useful. We've seen so many women, particularly in their 40s, 50s, 60s, who have been told, oh, you can't get better because you're older. No one with chronic fatigue syndrome gets better when they're older, which is a lie. It's a myth, because we see people in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even late 80s who are getting better. So the belief is the problem, right?
Yeah. But having something greater to work towards is what can help propel the mission of recovery in each individual, I think, of, okay, it's a process of, all right, wait, I have this diagnosis. Okay, well, I want my old life back. Okay, well, I'm here now. What do I do? Okay, I can see that's possible. This is what we're doing. I've been given this thing. I need to figure it out. Okay, I'm going to start seeing some progress. Okay, wait, I'm seeing some progress. This is moving in a great direction. That builds more hope, more commitment. But when you then have a like, okay, what am I wanting to move toward? What am I wanting to create? What am I doing this all for?
Yeah. Particularly on the hard days.
That's what helps, when you wake up in the morning and you're like,
You don't.
I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand up and I'm going to focus on that thing that's pulling me in that direction, because like you said, keeping with that consistency and with that vision, life continues to open up. Progress can be made.
Yeah. And I also think maybe it's the outlook on recovery. So like, rather than seeing recovery as this like forever thing, just realizing that recovery is just a now thing if you focus on it now. Like, recovery doesn't have to be forever if you focus on recovery now, because, you'll eventually get healthy and you won't have to focus on recovery. And so it's...
But health is forever.
Health is forever. So that's the difference. Recovery isn't forever, but health is forever. And so, doing those health fundamentals, and as you're becoming healthier and as you're healthy, becomes effortless, because it's just who you become. It becomes habit.
Parts of your life.
Yeah, exactly. As we wrap up, what's your advice to someone who is on the other side? They're struggling. They're not quite there yet with being on the fast track to recovery. Like, they keep getting stuck, and their accountability to themselves sucks. They're beating themselves up. They're in a vicious cycle of maybe feeling good for a little bit and then going backwards for 4 or 5 weeks at a time. What's your advice to people like that?
Number one, self-compassion. You said it before. I think that's vital in recovery. I don't think beating ourselves up helps ever.
You're only going for a boxing match and don't
You don't need to be fighting yourself as well.
No, exactly. That's another trait. The people who are recovering faster, they're not boxing themselves. They're not against themselves. Yeah.
Being curious and open-minded to learn. Being open to different, to get a different result, you've got to do something different. I think that's, one to live by. Not tracking time.
Yeah.
Not comparing yourself to anybody else's recovery. Knowing that it's not just about your recovery for now. It's about creating a life of like vibrancy and health. And that's on the other side. That can be on the other side of, this is not lost time. You're learning things that are adding to your life, that are, yes, moving towards recovery, but are going to be with you for a more vital, vibrant life forever.
Yeah.
So there's nothing's been lost, which I know can be a,
Hey, Holly.
it can be very normal to feel like so much time has been lost and life has been lost potentially, but in it is so much learning, living that is adding to life. And I think, seeing it as a journey and
Well, what we find is like people who get better are thankful that they went through the illness.
always. And that's very hard to say at the beginning, right?
Yeah. They're never at the start. They're like, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever," and then
Never be thankful.
And then as they get on the other side of recovery, they go, "Oh my God, I'm so glad this happened. It's made me a better person. It's made me appreciate the life that I have." So that's probably also something to remember on the journey, rather than like looking at the dark side and the shitty side of things. My last bit would be to have a long-term approach to life in general. Because nothing great was built overnight. Nothing great was ever done overnight. And so I think like the sooner you can stop looking for quick fixes and fast solutions, the sooner you start telling your brain and your body that you trust that you can get better. Because the more you keep searching for that, the more you're just telling yourself that, I'm so desperate, I need to quickly change stuff. So I think just having a long-term approach, and that's what we see with people's recovery is like when they stop measuring time and they start just having an outward long-term focus, like their life just starts to get better. So yeah. Choose to progress. And
Yep.
maybe we wish everyone, and self-compassion, be kind to yourself and you know, bring yourself on your own team.
Love it.
Let's go. Hit subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below and let us know what your biggest takeaway and insight was from today's episode. All the best.